have this time together with you this evening, or whenever it is you're checking out the recording, to share we're in our 15th year. It's either the 14th or 15th summer of STEM Teachers NYC Summer Institute workshops. So what we'd like to do, the most important part of this session is to connect directly to our teacher leaders and hear from them about the workshops that they will be and the expertise they're going to be sharing with you over the summer, and time for you to ask questions that you might have. You can always drop those in the chat as we go. But for folks who are new to STEM Teachers NYC, we thought we would introduce ourselves. Some of our team is here. We will have a second session on the 19th, and other folks will join at that point. So just some faces that whose emails you may recognize, and give a little snapshot of the history of the organization as well as kind of our MO. So that's a little bit of kind of what I said, and you get a picture of last year's Physics Regents workshop in action. So we'll introduce the organization, our approach, and then jump into snapshots directly from some of our teacher leaders about their workshops that are coming up over the summer, and kind of segue into a few extra things that we have going on this summer, and some time for your Q&A. So for those who are not familiar, STEM Teachers NYC was founded by 25 physics teachers 15 years ago. We should find out the exact date. Maybe Mark, you can tell us if you remember. And quite a few of those physics teachers are still going strong as very seasoned workshop leaders and teachers, and we're very privileged to have them, some of them here with us today. And their motivation for coming together was really to have their very specific questions answered by others who kind of would know best. So questions specific to something a student encountered, a turn of phrase that you're working on, a bowling ball that you found in your closet. It's very specific things to a specific content area. You wanted to reach out to your colleagues who are grappling with the same. But what became very unique and what the entire organization has evolved out of was this responding to the needs of a colleague. So you have your questions and your challenges that you would like to have addressed, but in that same moment, also giving back with your own expertise. And the entire organization has really built from that, with physics teachers inviting their chemistry colleagues and bio colleagues and middle school and lower grades. And we're now K-12, all subjects, all STEM subjects and all grades, all school types, all boroughs, and beyond. So we do the kinds of things that we've grown over the years, are ways to provide support and inspiration and learning opportunities for the teachers in and around New York City and beyond, is through teacher-led professional learning and community opportunities to connect with each other, through partnerships, so seeking out a variety of different opportunities through various other STEM providing partners in and around the city, from Columbia University, Museum of Natural History, New York Academy of Sciences, Cornell Tech, this kind of thing, but really also finding ways that our collaborating partners can also learn from the teachers in our community as well. And then in the center, we put our leadership pathway, because we very much feel that we do serve the teacher participants in our workshops as well as the teacher leaders. So what will you likely experience in a given workshop? We put together this scrappy diagram. It's actually hand-drawn, but it is the result of many minds coming together. Teacher leaders about 5-6 years ago, I think. We kind of sat around a real table, a virtual table, and and put our heads together to elicit the non-negotiables, which I think is a phrase from Glenn, who's also here. Things that you really would expect and want to see in a given professional learning workshop, whether as a participant or a leader. And these are the core elements, sometimes called teacher hat, student hat. We call it student mode, teacher mode. So time to really engage in what students will be engaging in without fear, really feeling the freedom to discover as your students would, starting with something relevant, starting with a key strategy, an approach, a rubric, a lesson, a unit, something that's working in the teacher leader's classroom, time in teacher mode for dialogue and co-planning, learning from the others in the room, all guiding the group towards a practical product that you will take with you when you leave. And we very strongly believe in the creativity of the participating teachers as well as the teacher leaders in the room, and believe that there is wisdom in the group as a whole. This gray piece here is equally important. We love to see our participants come back and share, the different ways that they've applied what they learn in workshops. And we also hope that participants become our future teacher leaders. So, without further ado, as they say, we're going to jump into an introduction to some of our workshops. I think about half will be introduced today, and the other half we're hoping to make time for on May 19th. We have workshops to share with you, our Siegel STEM Fellows program, some community events that happen over the summer, our student-facing program, and our scholarships. So I think it's Glenn and Jessica first.
Hi, everybody. I'm Glenn.
And I'm Jessica.
And we're going to talk about our workshop, the Climate and Environmental Science for the Modern Era, which is kind of the best hits of the curriculum that Jessica and I have been teaching together this year, which has evolved from a whole lot of different conversations and trial and error and just trying to do what's best for the kids. But the entire goal of that curriculum is to make students empowered citizens of a sustainable community. And I think I'll just kind of walk us through the schedule for the week, if that's cool. Day one, we're gonna look at transdisciplinary thinking. Every way of knowing, whether it's science, math, art, has different strengths and different weaknesses. So we kind of explore that a little bit and use global climate change as a context to unpack different ways of knowing in that specific context, with the goal of viewing climate change as an opportunity rather than this big sort of existential dread that students feel. And one of my favorite activities is, and Jessica has done this as well, we play Mr. and Miss Moneymaker, which are kind of our climate denying, climate delaying personas. And students have to grapple with us using evidence, not only scientific evidence, but also socio-ecological evidence. It's a lot of fun, but it is a very stressful character to play. And you can kind of see what that's like and unpack that from a teacher perspective. Day two, we're planning on doing a more ecology-based kind of a day, and thinking about circular systems as well as traditional ecological knowledge and the importance of indigenous ways of knowing. We felt that that was important enough to warrant a little bit more time. And we'll just kind of see some patterns in nature that might also be patterns in other systems as well. Day three, deep dive into systems thinking. I pull out my full nerd persona. We have an entire gamified activity with like power-ups, dice rolls. If you're a D&D fan or if you're a video gamer, it's hardcore nerd. And it's an activity designed for students to think about the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, the geosphere, and the biosphere in the context of systems. and system thinking tools. So cause and effect, scale, feedback loops, and trying to make these really complicated things a little bit more digestible. And then the fourth day, we will take all of the different ways of thinking that we've been looking at and apply it to social ecological systems and real world environmental science phenomena. Flint, Michigan, um, Love Canal, um, the Church Rock uranium spill, all of these terrible things that have happened, but we look at the timeline and we kind of uncover some of this, a lot of this was very predictable. And we start asking the question, is the system broken or is the system starting to work exactly as it has been designed to work? And Mr. and Mrs. Moneymaker also make a return to that, and students get to grapple with some misconceptions for us. And then the final day is an application of everything that we've learned in terms of enacting community. How do you actually make a sustainable community? And for us, a big part of that is storytelling and responsive storytelling. Because it's one thing to just say, look, here's a graph, but to actually bring people into the storytelling process is a big part of that, and we're probably going to have a lot of fun with it. So that's kind of the overview, but I think it's very much worth mentioning that Jessica was a participant in this last year, so I'm sure she has a bunch to say.
Yeah, so Glenn has been doing this a curriculum for a while now, and I took, as he said, I took this class with him as a student last year, and honestly, fell in love with Glenn's way of teaching and his joy and vibrancy, and said, I want some of that in my life. And so he and I have been working together this year to bring what I think is a truly holistic curriculum to my classroom. The reason why I say this and why this is a story that we're bringing to you guys is we would love it if you, as science teachers, also brought your colleagues, the people that you bring joy to your life, that bring vibrancy. It doesn't matter if they're art teachers or history teachers. This week is going to be a lot about the science behind climate, working on the two new requirements for the New York State. But as you might have heard as Glenn was talking, a lot of this is thinking about how to solve this outside of just science. So thinking about art, thinking about philosophy, thinking about history, thinking about systems, all of these things are much bigger than science is. And so we would love it if you came, if you enjoyed, but if you brought that person or those people that are your people as a way to really make this interdisciplinary and find ways that we can learn from each other outside of just science.
We love our art and our history colleagues.
And English and math too. I don't know why I stuck with it.
World languages, everything. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Jessica. Please put your questions in the chat for them. We are going to respond to a request from one of our leaders. Please forgive the skipping ahead. Chris, are you still here? Hey.
I am, yes. Hello.
Welcome. We're going to let
Hi.
you go next to introduce yourself, share a little bit about the evolution of the workshop, and what folks can expect to do during the course of the workshop.
Sounds great. So, hello, my name's Chris Resch. I recognize lots of names, so which is awesome. I am a workshop facilitator for STEM Teachers NYC for a long time now, mostly the biology workshops, and I'm excited to do the biology Regents Bootcamp again this summer. There's two I'm working on. This is a big one that's kind of gone through a number of iterations over time. And really the whole core part of why this workshop started was because of the big shifts that a lot of the states and through the NGSS requirements, when they came about, there was a lot of new materials and new ways of doing things, including the same thing with the 3 biology labs. And there's my son. So you can say hello too, feel free. So during this workshop, you can definitely expect to go through all 3 of the new Regents biology labs. That was a big need. We heard from the educational community that folks were really interested in doing lots of practice, kind of having time to digest the labs, to walk through them together with colleagues, and really use that time to brainstorm and think of different ways to do those labs that such that they weren't quite as cookie cutter-ish, and that they could really kind of branch out beyond just the labs and figure out how to incorporate it in things, the great stuff that they're already doing in their classrooms. So we will be spending 3 days looking at that. But then embedded with that is also looking at some of the sort of philosophical and pedagogical shifts that are coming along with NGSS, as well as the practical pieces of how does this look new in a Regents exam? What types of questions are going to be asked? Because there is that sort of philosophical shift of looking from biology as this memorization, this field of memorizing lots of facts, to looking at claims and evidence and reasoning within the context of biology. So not only looking at strategies for how to teach that alongside the new required labs, but then also how to create that. How can you create that beyond just the labs in your classroom, those environments where students are grappling with ideas in biology and concepts, are grappling with questions and question clusters that you create. So we spend a lot of time, or we're going to spend a lot of time thinking about that process as well. So I am looking forward. Please, if you're into bio and you're into nerding out over bio curriculum and pedagogy, please feel free to sign up. I'd love to see you.
Chris is also one of our co-leaders on the Learning to Lead workshop. Would you like to say a couple of things about that one?
Sure. I'm really excited about this one this year. We are spending some of that time in person. So the Learning to Lead workshop, like the biology, has gone through a number of iterations. And our goal with this is to really help to equip and empower you all as potential future leaders for STEM teachers in NYC, with just sort of the framework and the thinking. Yes, and then my son's adding his 2 cents. The framework and the thinking, and just some of the practical strategies that a lot of the workshop leaders that are part of STEM Teachers NYC utilize on a daily basis when they're leading workshops. So, for example, what are some of the talk moves that they might have? What is a way that they plan workshops? How do they come up with ideas even to come up with workshops? And how do you then organize that into something that you can put into a 3-hour workshop or a multi-day workshop? And so a lot of the time that we do is kind of going big picture of kind of how do you start with that process, to kind of the small, more detailed, okay, now how do I actually go and pull it off, and how do I know which question to ask or how to sequence things, like, and we equip you and try to empower you with a lot of tools to help you along the way as you're starting to embark on that leadership journey that we hope you all will take at some point.
Thank you, Chris. Exactly. And if you are planning to take one of the other workshops, this is a really great way of framing your summer experience through that leader lens. And when you leave the Learning to Lead workshop, you leave with kind of a bit of a plan for what you want to specifically hone in on and grow with respect to over the summer as you participate in other things. Thank you, Chris. Questions for Chris in the chat, please. Let's see if I can find the right place to scroll back to.
And then just to make the point, I am putting the links to the various workshops that are being talked about in the chat. If you're interested in them, please click on those for more info.
Thank you, Brian. Let's see. Jason, you are up.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm going to do something similar to Glenn and talk a little bit about our program, kind of a little history of it, and then send it over to Joan. She's going to finish off and tell you a little bit more about her experience and how she's going to add to our team this year. So KT3 is an acronym, stands for Kid Talk, Teacher Talk. And we have existed in many different forms since about 2014 was our first kind of version of this. Brought it to the city in 2017 and have been working in various capacities all the way through the pandemic and kind of kept it alive as we work through that. This particular workshop is roughly a 2-week workshop, so it is a pretty big commitment in terms of what we're going to do. The first week is kind of a mix of hybrid activities where we are going to be online certain days, and then also some time to give us to be in-person planning for our second week. The first week is really about strategies and discussions on how do we structure lessons, particularly for our primary grades in STEM that are really localized with the phenomena and engaging and student-centered. And some of the other things that we saw with Glenn and Chris before, where we're really looking at what does that discourse look like? How is it that we as the teachers in the classroom can surface what our students are thinking and hear them kind of share their thinking. So that sort of is the in a nutshell what we're going to be doing the first week. And then at the end of that first week, we do some planning and we actually take these strategies in kind of a unique way and get to deploy them in a summarizing program. And we have been moving about the city and going to different places. Our location yet this year is still kind of up in the air, but we will be in a host school where we kind of take over a science program in one of the or multiple of the summarizing classrooms, and we get a chance to try out some of the strategies that we just worked on with a real group of students, and we have had great success. They've been wonderful participants and really engaging and exciting. And I think we've learned way more from the students than they ever learned from us as we go through that. So the second week is that where we are day to day working with the students in the morning, and then we spend some time in the afternoon together just talking about what happened and thinking about the strategies and what we wanted to do and what actually happened and how we might move forward. We do some really interesting things with curricular materials such as Amplify Science or Open SciEd, some of the high quality instructional materials that are out there, but that are very deep and very big. And we try to take those resources that many people are using, or if you're doing a homegrown, it's fine as well. And we try to take those and really localize them. We have had also some good success looking at a lens from a multilingual learner lens. So we've had some students in there where we needed to adapt some of the things that we did based on what they gave to us and the feedback and kind of be responsive to them. And we turned our lessons a little bit more adaptive to the students that are in front of us. Like some of the others, and I think Jessica was in this group, Michelle and Joan are both alum of this program, so participated as teachers in this, and they're just excellent contributors to the program, and we bring those on as now leaders. So I'm going to turn it over to Joan. You can tell us a little bit about your experience and kind of fill in some of the gaps maybe that I left out.
Hey, I'm Joan. I'm so excited to be helping to facilitate the Kid Talk, Teacher Talk program this year. I was a participant last year and I loved it so much. It was really thrilling. Jason and Michelle are amazing leaders in the fact that they kind of turn it over to the participants and they're there to steer us and help to guide us, but the participants really run the program. It's like, what program do you want to put into place to show how these kids can engage in dialogue and discovery and inquiry, and then you actually put it into place with the students. My favorite thing about any workshop is that collaboration with other teachers. And was so strong with Kid Talk, Teacher Talk, because the teachers every day would get together and plan and say, oh, I do this with my class. I do this with my class. And the learning from each other is so rich and thrilling. And then when you put it into place and you see, okay, maybe this isn't going to work because these kids need something else. And so it's like really, it was on fire. So I'm really looking forward to this program this summer to be a facilitator as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Joan. Joan, we're so happy to have you. So please continue questions, comments in the chat. Brian is adding specific links. I believe we are now going to shift to our standards-based feedback and assessment team, Mark, Smith, and Sharona. We can stay here, but I think, Sharona, you have your own slides. Would you like me to stop sharing?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Sharona Khan.
I'm Mark.
I'm Smith. We're together.
And we were together in on learning about standards-based grading. It was what we called
10 years ago.
Or more. It was, about that. And it's about 10 years ago that we started running the workshops. And Shona, was that right? Because you were in the first workshop.
Yeah, I was in one of the first workshops, and Mark was my teacher. And I've since joined forces, and now Smith too. And I guess they continue the discussions all the time.
We do. And the reason is that, assessment is often an afterthought in a lot of teacher training programs. It's just like, well, at the end, you just give the kids a test, right? Or sometimes the tests are just handed to you. There's the Regents, there's the test. And so what we're overall trying to do is get us to think really clearly about what we want students to know and be able to do by the time they leave our courses. And then how do we write better assessments based on that? How do we write better curriculum based on that? And it just helps to align everything that we do.
So flipping the narrative, instead of beginning with the content, you're thinking about the end goal and what you measure and what you don't measure. So things that students get excited about and passionate about that you can't put a number on, and things that, of course, you have to put a number on because you're beholden to the school, the parents, the students, whatever kind of record keeping is happening.
So in making a workshop that's about having clear objectives, we thought, it would be a really good idea if we had clear objectives for our workshop. So one of the things that we want our participants to be able to do is, by the end of the 3 days for the intro workshop, is to be able to explain the benefits of this kind of approach, the standards-based feedback and assessment, to different audiences, whether it's your students, whether it's parents, whether it's colleagues or administrators.
One of the things that we also think is particularly important is thinking about the difference between assessment, feedback, and grading, because those are three very different things. And as we go through the workshop, you'll see that assessment doesn't necessarily mean you have to put a number by something. You're really just sitting beside. I'm a Latin teacher, so assessment is from Latin. You're sitting beside your student and you're giving them feedback on what they're doing. And the grading is often the number, the recording component.
And there's different kinds of information to record. So we talk about approaches to that, systems to that, and we want you to be comfortable with being able to do this when you leave. And
Go ahead.
And then the other thing is we want to do is we want to help build a network of colleagues, because not necessarily a lot of teachers are doing this at your school. So we build a citywide network of colleagues who are doing this kind of approach in their classes. And so that you have people you can talk to. And we have an advanced workshop. It's for people who have tried this
and want to get together with other people who have been doing this for at least a year so we can go and talk about what's working, what kinds of things people need help on. And so that's the second component.
To me, this is one of the most important things, the community building piece, because if you feel like you don't have any sort of support within your school to reach out to other people's schools and say, what are you doing? How can I implement what you're doing in your school in my own classroom? And then that becomes the impetus for modeling to other teachers within your school about why this is such an exciting thing to do. And it really is like, yay, standards-based feedback and assessment, and the crowd goes wild. It's not just like, oh, plod along and all we have to do is read the objectives. Like it really is fundamentally an exciting thing to do in your pedagogy.
Okay, we're gonna pass it to Sharona here.
Thanks. Yeah, that was, I mean, when I started with this work through STEM Teachers NYC, somebody said that this was really the it thing, that something was missing in their instruction and they couldn't quite put their finger on it. And shifting over to a standards-based feedback and assessment framework sort of was the aha moment that they'd been looking for. And it really is true. This is sort of things fall into place once this framework guides your instructional decisions and helps students just take ownership over their own individualized learning plan. And the piece about the community too is the reason why I stayed in touch with Mark after our first session a decade ago was because I was trying to implement these shifts in isolation in my very small school where I was working alone. And I took him up on his offer, like, keep reaching out. What questions do you have? Help us workshop. And I kept reaching out to the other members of the workshop. And it's an iterative process. I'm still all the time changing things. So I just wanted to share some of the specific activities and tasks that we plan for our workshops. Some activities we do in both the introductory workshop as well as the deeper dive workshop. And then some we just do in the intro workshop. So those include speaking about traditional grading practices, evaluating them, reading about them, discussing our own experience with traditional grading practices. We start off with a top 10 list of what we want students to know and be able to do in our courses. And then from there, we build out more specific learning objectives. We talk about sustainable standards-based systems so it doesn't feel too overwhelming or intangible. We work at crafting assessments to reflect objectives. We look at a before and an after assessment to try to replicate and analyze those changes. We think about equity and how this contributes to greater equity. And then a crowd favorite activity that we do is elevator speeches and role play. And we actually put participants in the shoes of when colleagues or students or parents start to question this untraditional approach, to make sure that participants are leaving the workshop really feeling ready to share the rationale behind standards-based feedback and assessment and share what they learned and be ready for these common questions that may pop up. And then we talk about next steps we make specific to-do lists and help participants leave the workshop with some concrete next steps that they plan to carry out in the fall.
And just building on what Sharona is saying, for the deeper dive, again, the idea is for people who have tried this, is just to get them together and provide a framework for how we can continue to develop that out. And I think that is probably as much as we need to say.
Although I do want to add that I think the deeper dive is one of the most incredible opportunities to steal from other people once you see systems in place and what has been working for them and what isn't working for you and how to make it successful.
That's a really great point, and a really great point to sort of bring across the workshops, and also kind of references something that Joan was saying, and the kind of the richness of what you gain from everybody in the room. We've actually heard that from other workshop teacher leaders, that there's definitely already this feedback loop that's happening in every workshop space. Thank you, Sharona. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Smith.
Thank you.
More questions in the chat. I think we said we were going to pause if anybody has some pressing questions now. It's always good for me to pause. I try. Otherwise, oh, I'm not keeping an eye on that. More details will be provided in the chat. You can also email us for more information about anything that you're learning about. We do hope that we're giving you a very difficult choice among the workshops that we have scheduled this summer. You're always welcome to take more than one. Next up is Asya, sharing a little bit, a snapshot of the physics Regents Labs.
Hi, I'm Asya Shpira. Last summer was the first time that I was actually leading a STEM teachers workshop, and I'm very glad that I'm doing it again. I'm a physics teacher, and I think one of the big benefits of the programs like this, when else are you going to have so many physics teachers in the same room at the same time? Only at the Regents grading, right? Which is not the same. Right, it's actually amazing when when so many physics teachers are coming together. So it is going to be a workshop dedicated to the state labs, physics state labs. There are 3 of them, and it's a 4-day workshop, and day 4 is going to be dedicated to other things. We will see the Regent exam by that time, so we will discuss. Hopefully we will try to create clusters based on what we are seeing in the Regents exam, and so on. Last summer, we went into that practically blind. Nobody had an experience doing those labs, even though some of us did try with our more advanced students. So we will put on our student hats, and we will start with running those experiments as students on one hand. On the other hand, I'm sure there are going to be, the leaders, and I'm sure there are going to be teachers who already had the experience during this year running those labs, which is really invaluable experience for all of us. We will share what worked, what didn't work, what can be done better. Right? My pet peeve, maybe we can come up with some recommendations, because not everything is done well in the instructions, in the problems that they're asking. Maybe we can come up with some recommendations for changing, right? Even though I don't know whom to address those recommendations.
Everyone is trying to improve.
Huh?
Everyone is always trying to improve.
Right, of course. And we will be interested to know if the state comes up with some, upgrades, or as they did for other subjects, for bio, for instance.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's great. Thank you, Asya. In each case, I think, except for biology, each of the 3 other Regents workshops last summer and this summer are led by teams of teacher leaders. So Asya will be joined by Alan Zellner, and I believe also Jason Klein. So we're really excited to be bringing in some more new leaders. I think that takes us to Christina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Coker, and I teach Earth and Space Science. And so last summer, Liza and I ran the Earth Science Labs. But as we're entering into our 3rd year now with the new curriculum, we are expanding from beyond the lab and entering into kind of a more how can we feel more prepared to go forth into the school year through an Earth Science Regents Bootcamp. And so we are going to be still talking about the labs, sharing some tips and tricks for how to make them run more smoothly, because streamlining, I think, is always a really key thing about this, as well as then how to make sure that we are addressing the new literacy demands that the exams are adding on to our students, as well as how we can make sure that we're building student-centered like solutions to the amount of diagram literacy that is also going to be on the in new exams. So it's going to be 4 days. The first day is kind of going to be more geared towards the labs. The second day is going to be coming up with a list of things that like we are challenging, like that we're still trying to puzzle out. And the third day, we're most likely going to then kind of be co-creating solutions. And then the fourth day is, I think, going to be a field trip. Yeah, so we're gonna go out into seeing how a trip that you could take your students on, and utilizing a space as like a learner ourselves. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good workshop, and hopefully to see some of you there.
Thank you, Christina. And Christina will be joined by Liza Backman. Chemistry Regents team. Jessica, Kim, are you here with us?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I was actually in the older Zoom link, so I had trouble signing in. Yeah, that was why I was a little bit late. But hello, everyone. My name is Jessica. So I actually attended the Chemistry Regions workshop last year. Sabrina and Kara actually led it at the time, and I'm joining in. It's my first time as a facilitator. And pretty much what it is like what the other teacher leaders mentioned for physics and for earth and space science. So at this point, we've had 1 year. So I am pretty confident we all learned something. We all grew from it. And I think we're ready to share the best practices regarding these, the new regions, exams, as well as state labs, along with the curriculum changes for our schools. So the first day, if I remember correctly, is going to be what I imagine the fast and the fragrant, followed by the second day, which is the bioplastics lab. And the third day would be the acid-based lab, just a drop. So we would move in from student mode. So understand where the students are coming from, misconceptions. So that helps us plan the topics and activities we need to prioritize and teach through before they hit the state lab investigations. And afterwards, we would move into teachers mode with that. And what I remember last year, what we were doing, we were actually trying to figure out and try to predict the type of questionings the state would ask. And now that at this point will be a year later, we would have a better idea. So I think Asya mentioned it before for the physics group, that we are going to focus on more of the questioning and assessment piece. So the fourth day on the schedule for us is to work with AI and share cluster questions or develop cluster questions based on the regions, particularly the lab investigations and how that would generate. Asya also brought up the new regions. So chemistry, similarly, we're having our first iteration of the new regions in June. So at that point, we would have more information, more experience based on the new regions format. And another thing that I'm actually trying to reconcile with is the literacy, because that's what all the new regions are shifting towards. It's how do you communicate technical and scientific information effectively? And personally, what I've seen this past year is even though students seemingly understand what they're doing, The hard part is communicating that idea effectively in the lab investigations in terms of lab procedures, developing data charts or graphs, and how to interpret what you see in the lab. And also keeping in mind that students also need time to practice and make mistakes, because that's what labs are. So we're not going to be able to counter that or expect that, prepare for that if we don't do it ourselves as a student in the student mode. So hopefully people are interested in attending the chemistry workshop, regardless if this is your first time, second time, or nth time, just because there's power in numbers, and the more collective information we have and share, the stronger we will be and the stronger our students will be in the upcoming years. So hopefully people attend.
Actually, chemistry tends to fill up pretty quickly. Just saying. Thank you, Jessica. Very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate you sharing that. Jessica will be joined by Sabrina and Cara Luce, and they've been working actually together over the year, doing each of the individual investigations as single day workshops. Wonderful. Thank you. That's not the last slide. So starting the year off right is actually a workshop we're going to be bringing back. If you'd like to learn more about that directly from those teacher leaders, you need to join us on the 19th. But it's really built around strategies that really span the gamut of kind of all of the things that you deal with as a teacher, from classroom design to parent communication to classroom management, all of these things, executive function, these things sort of coming together in different modules of that workshop. Please do share that one or come back, or Brian will also share some more detail in the chat. Learning to lead, we heard from Chris earlier. And it is over to Brian, who's going to share some of our shorter workshops this summer, which will cluster. Is that like a Regents pun? We'll cluster around one day at Marymount School, July 14th. Brian, over to you.
Yeah, I'm putting two of them in the chat. Two of them are still we're still working on getting them posted. But yeah, we have at least 4 workshops planned at Marymount with a pizza lunch in between. You're welcome to stay for that or come early for that if you're taking an afternoon one. Space in schools, science and dance in your classroom. Joanne Pledger is a professor of astronomy in the UK and got a grant to come over and is going to join us and teach what is a pandemic era project that has turned into something that schools around the UK are using to learn astronomy through dance concepts in the upper elementary or most elementary and middle school kind of ages. So using movement and dance to teach fundamental concepts within. It can also be adapted for other subjects as well. The focus during the workshop will be astronomy, but they'll be talking about how it could be adapted into other subjects. So yeah, that should be absolutely fascinating. And that one is being funded in good part by her university, who's paying for her ticket to come over and stay here. So please do sign up for that one. We're basically just asking you to pay for the pizza there. Essential spreadsheet skills for high school students. Ethel Canas is someone I met during Open Data Week here in New York City. So she's going to be teaching kind of some basic Google Sheets skills, both for teachers. The session I attended was for teachers, and people were definitely learning some of the basic functions and skills. She has this great kind of approach to teaching her students with a simple, getting more complex kind of a line of things where each person kind of does the same calculation, but then troubleshoots and can add on to it as well as they're learning new skills. We're going to expand that out into some other data questions and things. So please do if you want to work on some of your basic data processing skills for you and your students, it's going to be a great session as well. In the afternoon, after the pizza, Paul Pfeffer is, I think, one of our longtime folks as well. Yep. And has this stop motion idea. He's done it in his classes, in his physics classes, but we're expanding this one also out. I think this could be middle school and high school, perhaps, in fact, despite what that says. But it's a nice opportunity to kind of use a project based approach to teach kids how to use stop motion animation to then learn and demonstrate some concepts. So within physics, you could imagine little kind of the dot diagrams animated essentially that are showing motion, but they could be also applied to biology classes and motions under a microscope, perhaps. It could be solar system motions throughout the solar system, planets and things around the sun. We really expect that this could have a wide use across many, many fields. That is one of the two that I've posted that's ready, as well as the dance one. And then Bridget, who was part of our conference, excuse me, back on Pi Day, did a zines workshop and produces zines both in her classroom and for some science outreach that she does. And this is a really kind of powerful way to get your kids making a little project, but to also communicate their science at the same time. And she'll show you some different options for types of zines that can be made. They're very, very simple to fold and make. And then you can make copies of them and hand them out to others in the school. You can bring them home, of course. And the kids can really kind of take different roles about their interpretation of a class project, of a field trip, of any number of other about concepts within the class as well. So encourage you to come that day. Last year was a lot of fun, and we hope to see some of you there again as well. I think I keep talking. Yes. So we are also still at the moment confirming the details. There's a good chance that July 17th is going to be our sunset cruise. I think it's 17th. Yeah, 17th is a good chance that'll be our sunset cruise off of South Street Seaport. And whatever day it is, we are subsidizing that, so it is a cheaper ticket than if you went and tried to buy this yourself. You can bring food and some spirits, if you will. They don't want glass bottles, but other things onto the boat, and especially if it's nice weather that day, it's just a gorgeous sail around the harbor. Only a small portion of it, as they get out of the port, is by motor, and then you usually watch the sunset with the Statue of Liberty in the foreground. Really nice day. Midsummer should be beautiful. Asterisk for rain, but of course, always in New York City on a July evening. And then I will add this in a moment into the chat, but we have a teen education leadership academy. Ooh, we even have a veteran on the Pioneer. Okay, or somewhat. Um, so, what was I saying? Oh, yes, the Teen Education Leadership Academy. If you have some really gung-ho students, high school students, who are looking to perhaps enter the nonprofit world, the teacher facing nonprofits such as this or others, then we have a leadership academy where they kind of follow us around for the summer, see how things work, meet with our development team, meet with our marketing team, develop some skills. Thank you, Dan. And I think there's actually a STELLA page now, but if that's still the link, then that's fine as well. And it's meant to be a small program, maybe like 3 to 5 students. We already have a couple identified, and if you have some students, please do let them know. It's an academy, so there is a tuition, but we do have that's the one. The link is now in the chat, and we do have some scholarships available. So if you are thinking there's someone there, get in touch with me if you have any questions, or send them over to that second link in the chat. They are we want to reach them. We want to help kind of make the next leaders of nonprofits, especially education nonprofits, upcoming. And do I have one more thing to talk about? Yes, the scholarships. We know that some of these workshops can be limiting in their expense. We try to keep the expenses down as much as possible. They're really meant to pay our leaders who are giving their time and to provide the materials and other things that we're using in that class. Sometimes it's also rental fees. So we do need to charge for these, but we understand that not everyone is able to pay the rate we're asking. So we often provide discounts. There'll be one at the end of this workshop. There are other ways to get free and discounted workshops, but and your school is welcome to pay for you to come. There's an FAQ. Dan, maybe can you put the registration FAQ link in the chat as well? If your school has the ability to do that, we encourage that. That helps us out a lot, and it gets your school using up their PD funds if they need to do that. We know it's getting towards the end of the year, and some schools do have that to use up still. But if all of that is still out of reach, we have scholarships that are intended mostly for folks who teach in Title I schools, but we also want to encourage folks who otherwise can't pay for it. So it's not a requirement, but that is one of the things we're trying to reach, and some of the text that you'll see within that form. And we'll get that in the chat as well in a moment. So yeah, if you ever need, or if price is ever a concern, please do reach out to me, and we will work something out with you. If you bring a colleague with you as well, we can work out or colleagues with you, we can work out group rates. And if you do things like join our fellowship too, then you do get free workshops as well. So thank you. I could keep talking, but I think I am at the point where I should get it back, and it's also about 7 o'clock.
It is. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for sharing lots of the fun stuff that we have planned. And as Brian mentioned, we do have a special code for folks who joined our info session. Yes, you can combine it with the early bird tickets. There's a few days remaining for that. It's like practically giving it away. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank all of our teacher leaders for coming after school to share some insights and really an opportunity to engage directly. I know that we're at 7 o'clock, but if you would like, we're happy to stay a little bit longer if you have some pressing questions to ask. If you're not able to stay, please do reach out to info@STEMteachersNYC or to any one of us, Brian at or Daniel at, or yet an at STEMteachersNYC.org. You heard multiple times from multiple teacher leaders that it really is about the time to connect, the time to exchange ideas, exchange expertise, and really grapple with things together is what makes these experiences really valuable. And also from whence new teacher leaders emerge. So we're very happy to get the chance to meet and to work with you this summer. We're here for questions for a little bit, and I will stop screen sharing, and so we can see each other's faces one more time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.